Okay. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic. That's known classics. This is episode number 2146 and Doubleshot number 52, actually. 2152 and Doubleshot 2046. This was discussing issues from two separate Batman series where, to date, there is no trade for these issues. You're probably thinking, why? Are these issues terrible? Not really. I don't really know the reason why these issues were not collected in trade. Okay, but first we started out with issues from Batman Confidential. Yes, we're discussing the 5 only issues out of this 54 issue comic book that to date, by the way, these issues came out 13 years ago, still no trade for these damn things. Do not know why, but there isn't. Yeah. We're doing issues 36, 39, and issue 49. I've already discussed the two trades that collect issues 40, 50, 48 already. 36, 39 is a 4-part known as Black Hawk Down, which, yes, that's probably not to the movie that came out 3. But this issues came out in 2010. Now, despite the fact this book is basically tends to try to explore Batman's past with certain characters, or explores Batman history from year 4 onward, this feels like a present-day story. Why, am I to ask? Well, because it features appearance by Lady Blackhawk, who at this point in time in comic books had only been appearing in modern-day comics for about 15 years. Mostly put, this all involves the Blackhawks. Well, this is sort of a modern-day story for them. It's almost like this book was meant to be a Blackhawks book that DC decided to show and put in Batman in there and put in the Batman Confidential story in the series, because I think maybe DC at the time probably had cold feet in the matter, or they probably, and this is my honest opinion, I think that probably the Blackhawks were not as popular at this point in time. But, and here's the thing. Guess how many trades that have been released by DC Comics that collect anything related to the original Blackhawks? The answer is 2. There is the Showcase Presents Blackhawk, a 1-volume thing, and the Blackhawk Blood and Iron book. This book right here, which should be my last comic corner. And these two are the only trades I have ever seen released for Blackhawk. Yeah, anybody thinking, wait, what about that New 52 book? That has barely anything to do with Blackhawk. It's more of a G.I. Joe ripoff than basically Blackhawk. The main villain of the story is Ted Geyer, a.k.a. Killer Shark. Yes, that's actually one of Blackhawk's legend villains. In this story, Zinda Blake gets involved. She's a big player in the story. Now, she's still smoking hot because here's the thing about Zinda Blake. She is a Time Dispatch character. Now, you're probably thinking, how did she end in present day? Thanks to the events of Zero Hour. How? Fell through a hole in the sky that ended her up in the future. The future of the 1990s. Where she popped future, she became a supporting character in the Guy Gardner book. Later on, I think at the time this book came, I think she was still a supporting character in the pages of Birds of Prey. She was basically the official pilot of the plane they actually had, which made sense. And like in the 200 issue of Blackhawk, she gets Counter King Killer Shark brainwashed by him to become Queen Shark. Excuse me, she's turned back to normal by an older version of the original Blackhawk himself, the guy who's Polish. You might be thinking about this for Zinda Blake. Did she ever develop attraction to the original Blackhawk? To date, no. She was more had a thing with the jury member of the group, the one who was a redhead, who was a little bit older than she is, and that she was attracted to. Now, there's never been a mention of these two ever having romantic interest in each other. Not to my knowledge, but this 5-part story is really, really good. It is shocking this book is never collected in trade. But yeah, I get the Batman Confident, the Black Hawk Down story. By the way, the rating I give it is a 9.5. The writing is done by Royal McGraw, or by Marcus Marquez. That's who does the interior artwork and the writing. It's actually surprisingly really good. It's shocking DC never collected this in trade. Next up, we have the only other issue of this series not collecting in trade. Issue 49, done by James Patrick, Steve Scott. Now this issue is called The Work Is Never Done. Unlike the Black Hawk Down story, which flexed in the past, this this one feels like something you would definitely see from the pages of this book. It's basically Batman. It's a murder mystery, and you might notice missing. Oh, is there any cell phones here? No much of a cell phone, but there's some modern tech here. It's all about basically solving a mystery. It's an excellent standalone story. That I am aghast the fact this book was never collected in trade. A book that's this really good, all about delivering some possible stuff related to domestic abuse. It's a damn good story. And I have to ask, DC, why the heck did you not collect this issue in trade or the Black Hawk issues? The answer is good. I don't really know. Now, I give that issue and also a 9.5 out of 10. Next up, we have from Batman the Outsiders, Volume 2. Now, I should point out this is one of two of sets of issues for this book not collected in trade. This book, which was called Batman Outsiders, so issue 1, the name was dropped with issue number 15. And it made that title under simply Outsiders into issue 39, because I feel like they brought back the name. Now, I talked to Chuck Dixon about these issues, because he basically wrapped up his run with this book with issue number 10. Now, I told him, did you know these issues are not in trade? He's like, really? Yeah, even he was surprised the fact these issues are not in trade. Now you're probably thinking, are these issues bad? No, they're not. Now, the first two issues deal with Batman R.I.P. R.I.P., this whole thing with this is basically... excuse me, this is a loose tie-in to the aftermath of the apparent death of Bruce Wayne. The story is called Outsiders No More. Now, yes, Frank Cherry does the book with artwork by Ryan Benjamin. It's a two-parter basically dealing with the fallout of the lamp done by Chuck Dixon, and the next two issues done by J.T. Kroll. The issue starts out with Superman heading to Wayne Manor where he finds Oliver Queen drinking Bruce Wayne's wine. Now, you're probably asking, Nick, what the heck was Green Arrow doing in the Outsiders when he had a solo book at the time? My only guess is the reason why Green Arrow was included because Chuck Dixon wrote his book. And his lineup included, get this, not only him, but also the Cassie Kane, Batgirl, Martian Manhunter, Catwoman, though those two quit after issue 2 for some reason. Yeah, I have no reason why. A version of OMAC, Katana, Geoforce, and Black Lightning. I believe also Amazing Grace herself, who was a Joe Winnick character. I believe she was like the only character from that run who managed to stay with the team with the relaunch. Because everyone else basically... Now, here's something interesting though. Amazing Grace, toward the end of the Joe Winnick run, started dating one of Black Knight's daughters, his oldest daughter, who I believe was known as Thunder, if I'm not mistaken. And she was actually upset the fact that her own girlfriend was not allowed on the team because she dared fail an assignment. Now, as for why in the world a Catwoman and Martian are quitting the team, I don't really remember because it's been a while since I've read the issues, but they love issue 2, and the rest of the book is basically that lineup. Now, this has basically happened in the aftermath. So basically, Oliver's got a drinking. Now, Oliver technically has never had a drinking problem over the years. And then we see the Batcave in ruins. And then we see Batgirl where she's questioning the Penguin of where Batman is. He's like, not offensive to Intergang. He's like, it's better now that I'm at the city taking over our city and be in my club like a bunch of cockroaches. But I don't believe their interests are either of us to clue them into what's gone missing. Let me worry about Intergang. This, of course, cascades in this. But that has a familiar ring to it. Let's say we're a certain someone who agreed to work with someone to take down Intergang. Yeah, so he doesn't have any clues. And of course, we have to have a close-up shot of Cassandra Cain's chest. Yeah, that's where the artist drew it. It's like, walks away, and we have to throw in the boob shot for Cassie Kane because she's hot. Yeah, also the fact that her mom's hot too. Something that was pointed out by Duke Thomas in the relaunch of the Reboot continuity by Brian Hill, where Cassie points out to Duke, like she says to him, she says, "You think my mom was hot?" And Duke points out, though, everybody thinks your mom's hot. And Shiva smiled at that. Yes. Which, even she agreed with that. Yeah, everyone does think she's hot. Because Andrew Kane's also hot, too. And then we see a guy called Johnny Stitches. I'm not familiar with this guy. Where he's questioned by Batgirl. And then we go to Arkham Asylum. We run into Mad Hatter, Clayface, Victor Zsasz, and Jim Arkham is here. And this is quite strange still for Jim Arkham because I believe it was just after this he became Black Mask. Yes. So that the bat sing up like Commissioner, and of course he helped Batman show up, but nope, it's just Geoforce and Katana. Of course, Commissioner Gordon's grieving what happened with him. We have Nightwing brooding. Who's actually up with some Doug because the fact his mentors possibly might be dead. Thunder basically is competition with her father. And then we have one last mission for the Outsiders by Batman in this two-parter. Moving on to issue 12. Yep, so. And then we have the issue open right after you have Green Arrow and somebody else. Then you have Bruce, possibly. This is the last outsider. And then we see Amazing Grace talking to Thunder, who's in a coma. And says hi to Jefferson Pierce, Thunder's father. Now, here's the thing. Black Lightning has never been depicted ever since I'm sure he probably did find at some point that his own daughter was a lesbian. From what I could tell, he accepted perfectly fine. He's like, if she's happy, that's fine. He had no issue with that. As far as I can tell, Jefferson Pierce had no issue with the fact that his daughter was an open lesbian. Heck, even the Black Lightning TV show, he had no problem with either. Because it's what she wants to do, so he fully accepts it. Yep. Of course, he's had no problems with Amazing Grace, his yell at the doctor. And of course, basically, we have a mission. By the way, this OMAC is called REMAC. Yeah, that was something that happened to Joe Dixon, because if you read in the previous issues, like you should or you do something more, and then all of a sudden Batman dies. Yeah. It's like whatever plans were planned for this book with Batman charged the Outsiders was completely thrown out the window thanks to the events of Final Crisis. So basically, that despite the fact she does want the Outsiders work together, but they don't, and then she tries to assemble her own version of Outsiders, and she's there with Tim Drake, and then we have the issue 12 end with appearance by the Black Glove, headed by Dr. Simon Hurt. Now, you're probably asking, what the heck is the Black Glove and who is Dr. Simon Hurt? This is something from Grant Morrison's run for Batman. Yes, Frank Turi is doing a follow-up to something that was going in the pages of Batman at this point in time. So, and by the way, did you know Dr. Simon actually returned to comics during Tim Basili's run for Nightwing? Excuse me. Yep, he did. So, and of course, where they have Batgirl, because the Outsiders that were in the book prior to the start of these two-parter, they decided to pretty much all leave the team except for her. And then we have basically Frank Terry does issue 13. But here's something strange though. 14 is still on my Terry. I thought JT Kroll did these issues, but it turns out Frank Terry did these 4 issues. So basically, you have our building a new team. You have Mr. Freeze, basically freezing people. You have stuff related to various different ways the Batman villains just do whatever the heck they want. And of course, where Batgirl has to basically request help from Kurt Langstrom. And then we have appearance by the Vigilante. Now you're probably thinking, okay, who's under that mask? Is that Adrian Chase? No, that's actually his brother, Dorian Chase. What? Yeah, that was something that Jeff Johns did. Yep, Jeff Johns created the brother of the original Vigilante, Adrian Chase. Yes, the thing with Adrian Chase was he's a Marv Wolfman George Perez character who basically was a recurring character pages of Teen Titans until his family got killed and he became Vigilante. He got his own solo book, which lasted for a shocking 50 issues and had 3 writers. First, you have Marv Wolfman, Alan Moore, and a book I found by Paul Kupperberg, of all people, and introduced a character toward the end of the book where she was sleeping with him every issue except for one, and he committed suicide at the end of the series. I think he came back as a Black Lantern one time. Yeah, and basically, Dorian was his successor, his brother. So, then he runs into, spoiler, Stephanie Brown. And of course, well, she obviously really wants her best friend to be involved. So she got put together a team. Alfred basically makes appearance here. Then Nightwing is here too. And then apparently wrap the storyline up with issue number 14. Like, yeah, you gotta let this go. But don't worry, not the end of the series, because basically we'll get to that. So I do have a fight, and of course, basically that, well, they basically point out the fact that Shipping Outsiders team, and they basically have disagreements. This is before Battle of the Cow, and then we have this guy in his suit. Now, who is this? Basically put the suit on. I believe this is supposed to be Michael Lane, the second Azrael. Yeah, so. And the Angel of Death. Very soon. Yeah, that leads into the Batman Outsiders special. We have a brand new roster, which is comprised of mostly original Outsiders plus some new ones. I mean, they had basically Regina Force back, Katana, Black Lightning. They added the Creeper, Owlman, though not the Earth 3 Owlman. They added basically the son of Roy Raymond, who was basically, the original was a TV show host. And this guy was his son. And Alfred was basically their, well, he was their eyes and ears. Basically acted the same way as Barbara Gordon does. And it was like this the first couple of story arcs. And then he stopped doing it. Like, here's the thing. The first story arc, the Outsiders base was the Batcave. And then that got set up because of events of Battle for the Cow. So they had to move to a bunker. They had to move not to a bunker, but to a rocket ship, which got destroyed by the Creeper. And also deal with events of Blackest Night. And then, of course, now here's the thing. Tomasi would only stay in the book for about 10 issues. He would leave and hand the book off to the guy who'd be the final writer in the book. And this might surprise you. Dan DiDio took over the book issue 26, and he stayed with the book into the final issue. We also think about splitting the team up in 2. But man, Marvel back on team 2 because of the events of issue 25, because of the fact that Geoforce Home Country signed a non-aggression pact with New Krypton. Yes, something at the time in books that was very controversial because apparently the whole planet hated all Kryptonians except Superman. You want to know why? Because of the reaction when Reactron... You see, this whole thing kind of started when Reactron killed Supergirl's father, and her mother ordered basically an actual attack on Metropolis. They tried to get react on it, and that resulted in negative backlash against them. So they all vacated the planet New Krypton. The planet itself eventually was destroyed. Now, this is to over the course of basic books like Act Comics, Superman, and, of course, there's also, of course, The World New Krypton book, which features Superman at that point in time, and also Adventure Comics. And, of course, basically, this came back to Hunt book later on when it comes to War of Superman, because Outsiders basically tie into whatever was going on in the DC book at that point in time. Yep. But these issues were really good. And I have to ask, again, like in the case of Batman Confidential, why the heck were these issues not in trade for? These issues were really good. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a complete mystery of why these issues are not in trade. I mean, to date, they for some reason they skipped these issues, and despite the fact other series got new printings, not this book. This is one of those books I really wanted to see a new printing for. Especially as they probably could basically collect the entire series, but apparently DC doesn't have that in mind right now. Like, they did it for Catwoman Volume 3, which I was very appreciative about that, because with that was the finish of the entire third volume. The only things I've seen to do with is they did with Nightfall, which collected a couple of stories we're collecting share for. It's something I'm always positive to see about. I basically give positive reception to because I think it's a really good idea. But this definitely right here is one of those books I would love to see it for, but has to happen. I think the most newest printing they did recently for DC Comics was they decided to collect the entirety of the Jim Palmiotti, Justin Gray, and Mankind run for Power Girl. Yeah, the whole 12-issue run for that. That's all in trade now. Instead of being two separate trades, it's all in one trade now, which I'm going to get back by in the future. Yep. But yeah, that's particularly it, particular view. Next up is going to be One Piece. Okay, next view. Bye.